Hey guys, we're two guys who love trading stocks and we love investing in markets, and we're here to talk about investing to you guys.
Hey guys, this is Mitt here. I'm part of the Profit Makers community. A very diligent investor when it comes to investing, and I focus on the strategy aspect of the trade. So we're here to talk to you about how you can serve yourself well investing the right way.
And hey guys, this is Leon, a crypto investor first, stocks and options trader second. But we're here to basically explain the world of investing to the average Joe and explain why investing is the best path to building wealth. And we're hoping to help this change your mindset about investing, to eliminate some myths you may have around investing. And it is not as scary as a lot of people make it out to be. And actually, we don't think it's scary at all. We love
Yeah.
this, and we hope more will join.
So let's answer the first question. As you know, it's stated out there, is investing risky, right? So like we want to first address that question, right? Like I think that's the core question across the board, that people want to understand that. And I'd like to just begin with, what is your definition of risk, right? Because risk is a word that can have a multitude of scales, right? So you can use the word risk, it could scare someone significantly. Use the word risk, it can feel like a medium type of feeling, or someone that is at a different generational gap may say, oh, risk, oh yeah, we take risks in our life, so it's no big deal. So let's cover that, right, Leon? Like, at least I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
folks need to understand risk, right?
Yep.
Yep.
So
So
so let's there I would say there's two kind of major facets to risk, right? One, there's just mathematical risk in the markets and whatnot, but there's also your own personal risk profile. Now here's the thing: starting out as a starting investor or starting trader, you're going to have a certain level of risk that you can handle for yourself, right? And that might be, like I can lose $100 and I'll be okay. I can pay my bills tomorrow and whatnot, or I can lose $1,000. Okay, and that's okay to me. Like I can sleep at night. So that tells that can kind of give you an idea what your risk profile is. And here's the thing: over time, the goal is to increase your risk profile, not lower it. Just like how our goal is to increase our wealth, we want to be able to increase our risk profile because that goes hand in hand with generating more wealth.
yeah, so like, if I were to kind of dissect our our community members here today, right, at Profit Makers, right, we have folks that are ranging from high risk to low risk, right? So the question is, right, what is relative risk, right? Like, when people talk about investing, why do people start or let me put it this way, how do people perceive it, right, is the bigger question, right? So you could go to some subset of investors, and if you talk to them and say, oh yeah, we do advanced strategies and options or stocks, or anything, and there's some keywords you throw out there, and they will immediately harness on the fact that very risky. And you have some, they're like, can you teach me more about it? Can you give me some insight or more, right? So how do you end up understanding a person's perspective is the key, right? Is the ultimate key, right? And are we supposed to change that mindset, right? Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out, right? Like, should we change that mindset, or should we create a new standard of mindset, right? Like, people should think XYZ way instead of ABC way, right? So, let's dive into that, Leon. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts there?
yeah. So I kind of want to like use some analogies here.
Yeah.
So let's say someone who's never worked out in their life before, and they get introduced to, like, let's say hot yoga. So the first class they go to hot yoga, I mean, they might feel like they're going to die and whatnot, but then, at the end of the class, they're going to feel okay, and then they might be a little sore. But then they come back the next day and the next day, and it gets better and better, right? So in my opinion, like this is like that's the majority of people when it comes to new time investors. They might be, they've never done it before, right? And they're not sure what to expect of it. And in that class, there's going to be people who are really high, like you said, really high risk averse people, and people who are willing to take a little bit more risk. But they're not. But that person is not going to know until they kind of just dip their toes in and buy a couple of shares of something, right? Just what basic 101 investing, right? There might be people who just have a 401k and an IRA, and technically they're investors, but it's kind of like devoid from any actions that they're taking, so they're kind of like not really being oblivious to it. um and then you have people who are just starting to get into the market. So again, yeah, the risk profile thing, the risk level is very personal, and it's almost like a skill. It's like something that when worked on will be raised and should be raised. And yeah, I don't know that if there's any one standard we can kind of create, because it's very individual, right? Like it's kind of like working out your body. Everyone's going to have kind of like a different goals and different ways that their body will respond. And then the same way with investing. I Hopefully that
Yeah.
makes sense. Maybe I should use a different analogy.
No, I think that's you hit it dead on, right? Like it's pretty much like your own fitness plan, right? Like your customized fitness plan. You can have standardized fitness plans that on average you can do XYZ workouts, 3 sets, XYZ reps, right? Like you have a standardized, but then you have to customize it for your body, right? Like, and how your body adjusts to it, similar to diet plans, right? You cannot just say that everyone should do this type of strategy, or that type of strategy, right? So your body has to feel comfortable with it, right? Similar to investing, your mind has to feel comfortable with it. I
Yeah.
wanted to dive into, though, another aspect of this investing aspect is, how do people develop their risk in this industry, or the acceptance of risk, or acceptance of investing in this industry, right? Like what is the biggest driver that drives them to either entertain additional risk or take no risk, right? So let's talk about that a little bit, Leon.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I guess yeah. Again, I think it just starts with discovering it, right? It starts with having in uh like blood in the game. I'm beginning the term, but sweat in the game. But yeah, it's they need to have some exposure to something, right? Like, hey, buy a share of this, right? Or buy one stock of the S&P 500 or the Vanguard 500. Just something safe, so they have some money starting to work for them, right? Um, and I think that's where they start, and then consistently over time building up, their investing habits by just allocating a certain amount every month to going towards investing, going towards growing your wealth, rather than going towards basically, um, yeah, buying something that is not going to grow your wealth. And in fact, the opposite of that. I think that is step one. Um, yeah, and then after that is and then watching that, right? So everything that is tracked, gets measured and it is more top of mind. So if you're able to see how you do year over year, or even like more granularly month over month, I feel like that can build up a good investing habit. And I've shown this chart before. I don't have it with me right now, but it's a 200-year U.S. stock market chart, and it's basically goes from one really low price all the way to where we are now. And this is the same in basically every global market. If you invest long term, your money is going to grow, and your money is going to compound. And this is basic investing 101. And what we teach as profit makers is, hey, how can we accelerate this this path, right, with different strategies? But the first step is there are people who just don't want to touch it because they think, oh, I want my money to pay my rent, or I want to buy some new clothes, or they're not thinking in the right way. Because for most people, they think, oh, I have my 9 to 5 job, I'm okay. Um, Unfortunately, that's not the case for most people in that situation. You can't 9 to 5 your way to retirement. You can't 9 to 5 your way to wealth. You have to stop thinking that you're trading time for money or trading time for wealth. You need to be using your money to work for you while you're sleeping. So you need to use money to make more money.
Yep. So I think you hit the nail dead on, Leon. I just want to address a couple of misconceptions now, right? Like, I 100% agree with what you said, right? Misconceptions. Are you getting the right information through media, right? Like, that's the question you need to be asking, right? Like, are you getting the right information? Are you getting the right advice, right? We're not advisors, we're just, two investors and educators, right? So is the world out there gearing you in the right direction, or are the giants gearing you in the right direction, right? So I think people have built a little bubble, and that bubble is, folks dictate what you should do within that circumference, right? And and I feel the world's changing, Leon. I think it is changing significantly. So it's no longer that bubble where you kind of have to stay under the parameters, under those conditions, or build your mind in a direction where you have to follow those assumptions that, okay, because XYZ person said so, I have to follow these rules, right? And obviously, yeah, we want to stay compliant, right? We are not saying uncompliant, but what I mean by those rules are driven to push your limit your thoughts, right? That I cannot go beyond those
Hmm.
in a compliant way, right?
Yeah. It's like so. A lot of the old myths are from, like, basically it's old money trying to scare new money from investing. Like it's like, Wall Street funds or financial advisors saying, "Hey, let me manage your money. Like, you don't have to worry about it." And for a lot of people, that's suffice, right? But what we're saying here is this is the skill of investing, and even the skill of trading is something that anybody here can learn themselves, and they could easily outperform their financial advisor who's
Yeah.
charging them fees to invest their own money.
So
um,
that leads to the next question, Leon. Is it complicated? Is it complicated? Like when I think of this, like, how complicated can it get, right? And I put an analogy together in that aspect, right? Is if you can buy stuff off of Amazon, off of eBay, whatever store you use to go buy, you go to a checkout cart, right? You go buy, checkout, and you know how to put in your credit card information, you know how to fill out a form. um does it get more complicated than that, Leon? Like, I don't see that, right? Like if
Nope.
you know
Yeah.
how to do that and the user interface is more seamless, like should that be something that scares someone to go into an investment venture?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is something that should not scare someone. Yeah, if you can buy something on Amazon, if you can subscribe to Netflix, if you can buy something off of iTunes, it's like you can buy a Tesla stock, or a spy stock, or something, or just invest a fractional share into some company, right? You're investing. If you invest in the stock market, you're investing in companies with R&D budgets who are trying to make a profit and um, give dividends to their investors. Yeah, it's not complicated mechanically. Yeah.
Okay, and who is investing for, right? Like so let's say you have an individual who has a day-to-day budget. They have only a fixed income, and they deplete maybe 95% of their income each month. They're only left with 5%. What are your thoughts on that, Leon? Like, do you think that they're worthy of investing any money versus someone that saves maybe 50% of their salary, right? Like, what? Because here's the thing, right? Like, a lot of folks kind of gauge based on how much they earn, how much they save, and what are your thoughts in that aspect?
Yeah, so I think investing is something that everyone needs to do. Now, yes, like there are people who like they go paycheck to paycheck and they need that money for the basics, right? But to get out of that problem is one, they have to kind of put something away,
Yep.
right? And here's the thing: everyone can do this. Everyone can put something away. It's just we got to get this message out there somehow.
Yeah, like you're in the crypto space. A famous saying says that like if you just put like maybe $10 or $100 aside, you would have grown that significantly
Oh,
today,
yeah,
right? Right, like significantly.
especially.
And I don't mean like going way back, right? We're just talking about a few months ago, right? But it's a notion that like okay, like people then correlate investment to their belief system, right? That's another aspect of it. Like, do you believe in it? Do you feel
Mhm.
like it will grow, right? And then you also have the fear of missing out as well effect, right? So I think like I agree with you, Leon. Like at least the investing should happen, but having these objectives of fear of missing out, like having a strong opinion on something, I think folks should look at it and assess it in a neutral way. As like, okay, what are the possibilities, right? What are the possibilities in investing? What could happen if you did this? Like, what is the pros and cons of it? And assess it rather than just being judgmental about it based on your initial opinion. Fair enough. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, yeah. So I think those are great points, and that's a perfect segue into Bitcoin.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just want to bring up my personal story, right? So I was someone that lived paycheck to paycheck, high debt, and I just would get my paycheck, and I would spend it on clothes for going out that weekend or the bar budget or whatever it is, right? I didn't, and I had terrible financial habits. I mean, I cashed out a 401k because I treated it as a savings account. So terrible, right? Like definitely don't do that. But what Bitcoin taught me was all the right habits. So all the education that I did not even get in school, and even for my friends who went through finance, they didn't get the education that I got through just holding Bitcoin. So with investing in Bitcoin, it taught me because it's a asset that appreciates very quickly in price because of its nascent asset class nature and its supply and demand, which we'll get to in a different show. But something that was going up very quickly that appreciated quickly in price kind of like accelerated all this learning because it's like, oh, wait, hold on. Why should I go out and buy these $200 shoes when that $200 could go into Bitcoin and then go up, maybe 10%, 20% next month? Um, and it was a very, very acute learning because learning about Bitcoin made me not only learn about monetary policy and USD inflation and macroeconomics and how hedge funds think, how VCs invest. It taught me everything. Like it taught me everything about finance that I wish I had learned in school. And that's how I got into stocks and how I'm trading options now with you guys and researching stocks and thinking, yeah, literally thinking like how VCs think and how they allocate their resources and how you size up a position and and it's just a rabbit hole that at least for me it's like a growing passion now. It's all thanks to learning about Bitcoin.
So I wanted to end with this very, very, very clearly. Like you just kind of nailed again the concept of how you took a risk to help you learn and gauge something new and different, right? And it enabled you to save better, learn more savings techniques, right? And you actually, Leon, your story represents a majority of the population out there, a majority, right?
Hmm.
There's a huge class of people out there in the same bucket as you and I. And having this risk topic that we discussed about today, you just showed impressively showed the ability how risk turned into education, into savings, right? Like, so I'd like to end with this statement: is risk really risk?
Love it, great question. Yeah, think about
But
that, folks.
think about that, folks, and we'll catch you next time on another
Profit
discussion
Makers
on
Podcast.
profitmakers.trade. Thanks.
Boom.